When in their 30s, again, they've got some time for it to go, but in a lot of cases, by the time they're in their 30s, they've gotten debt. They've built, they bought things. If they haven't saved anything, I'd lay you money that most of them are living beyond their means and have debt. And so the approach with that, again, a chapter in the book, is 70-20-10, where you live on 70% of your income. You use 20% of your income to start paying off your debt, and there's a system I use to try to be it most efficiently. And then you always save 10%. It's a concept I got in The Richest Man in Babylon, which anyone listening, I think my book is good, but if you have to read only one book, The Richest Man in Babylon, which has been around since 1926, is one of the best books. It's just full of parables to think about it. And once you read that, then I think you'll find my book can give you actual tools and ideas to build wealth.
Well, before we go into the next step, while we're talking about this, your book is called Wealth by Choice.
Wealthy by Choice.
By Choice.
Choosing your way to a wealthier future.
Where can they buy that book?
It's available through tablet publications, through the choosingwealth.com website, which I've also, if you go there, you'll see a calculator and webinars that I've helped develop. It's available through Amazon, and locally, since part of this is about helping local organizations, We Venture is going to have them. I'm working with several organizations to have the book available where a percentage of the sales will go to a nonprofit organization. I'm working with Rotary in Titusville. Just talked to the president of the Titusville Chamber, and Marcia said we could put the books there. So on a local basis, I'm working at getting, it's also at the library. For someone who doesn't have the money yet to start and wants to look, there's copies in the library.
Wealthy by Choice. You can always Google search it, or we're going to give out your contact. I didn't mean to interrupt you, but when we talk about that, people like to go and search right while they're hearing it on the radio.
If they go to the library card catalog, they can look under just, if you put Wealthy, I think it's the second or third one down.
Okay. So we left off
up to 40.
Yeah.
Okay. 40s, you're starting to get to the point that if you don't get your butt in gear, you're going to regret it. You've got maybe 20, 25 years to really build wealth to finance the following 20 to 40 years. And so you're starting to run out of time. Again, if with 40, you probably have kids, they're into their teens. College, all of those costs. And again, it goes back to, regardless of age, start with the $5 a day. It's a visual, easy way to start.
That's a Starbucks coffee.
Right. But what you want to look at is to seriously look at, when you hit the 40, the 50, is to seriously look at your spending plan. Don't call it a budget. Look at where your money goes. You have money coming in and you have money going out. Where is that money going? And is there any one thing in there, even if you change it month to month, that you can cut out or reduce down or find a less expensive way to do it?
And that's why sometimes a third person like yourself can set with someone's budget, because sometimes you're looking at your own budget, not realizing that, I really don't need to have 300 channels on my cable TV. I don't watch 300 channels, and that would maybe cut out $25 a month right there.
And that's exactly what I do with it. And one of the things is, the hardest thing for many people is to say no to their friends. And if you want to build wealth, and this is one of the things I go with, one of the major choices that you've got in life, if you want to change your path from poverty to wealth, prosperity. Thank you. Poverty to prosperity is that you probably have to really look at who your friends are, and you have to be willing to say no and find friends that have common goals.
Right.
Because too much of our spending is not because we need something or even want something. We just don't want to disappoint somebody that we consider a friend. And my politically incorrect, what I tell people is, think 20 to 30 years from now, when you're retired, are you even going to remember that person? Yes, I know it sounds really nasty, but we watch people that do things not for their own benefit, but because they want somebody else to like them. And if that's what it takes, if giving up your financial freedom in the future is what it takes to have somebody like you, you need to evaluate what's really important to you and your family. The other thing I tell clients is, if they're married and the spouse is on the other side, I say, just blame me. I said, just tell them, my financial planner told me.
Usually you have that. One is a spender and one's a saver.
Right, exactly.
And they're fighting about that, where as a third-party advisor, you can solve a lot of their problems without somebody being the bad guy.
Well, I take on being the bad guy.
Yes, that's
and
what
I said, just blame me. And once you start seeing, Eileen's, believe me, there's a lot of things. Well, we want to get this pool. I said, okay, let's look at what that's going to do to your financial future. We want to buy a new car. What's that going to do to your financial future? I mean, I love the fact that Ralph was doing, used cars, because if you look at how much you can build wealth by buying used cars and keeping them until they die.
That was our show from last week, Ralph Perrone. That's doing some great charity events with his used cars.
Yeah.
So people that didn't hear that show knows what we're talking about.
Okay, sorry about that. And then if we start looking at 50 and 60, it's interesting. I had a client that came to me at 52. He had a total of $7,000 to his name. He had just gotten divorced. He made a commitment. He had a desire to go and paint. And so he made a commitment. He literally saved 30% of his income. And he ended up marrying a woman who was good about saving too. But by the 10 years later, when he got a buyout he was at the Space Center, when he got a buyout, he had accumulated over $250,000. And that was literally starting from nothing at 50. 60, the sad part is, if somebody has no money saved and they are in their 60s, their only real option is most likely going to be to keep working as long as they're possibly able. And the problem with that is that more and more, there was just an article on that people say, well, I'll work forever. And I said, that may not be an option, because companies aren't necessarily hiring older people.
Yeah, we see that. Unfortunately, I work with a lot of clients, again, in the law office. I do a lot, mostly it's transactional real estate, but I do some estate planning work as well. And we have people come in, or I'm dealing with people in distressed property situations where they're older folks and they've been laid off of their job and they're 100% capable, high quality workers, but they can't find a job. It's just the market is not there for an older person when there's younger people who come along, either cheaper, or it's not always about the money even. It's about just the perceived longevity in the position or whatnot. So it is any recommendations for those folks?
Absolutely. One, and needless to say, I've had clients that face that. One of the things that we need to recognize is the work environment is changing. And especially with things like the Obamacare taxes that are making it very difficult. I was just talking with my accountant actually about that. Is the companies aren't going beyond 49 employees, because then they pick up that tax. This way they can avoid the penalties.
People are only working 30 hours instead of 40, so they don't have the benefits. Yes.
Right. The $15 an hour minimum wage. I was meeting a friend at McDonald's. They had 4 of those kiosks that you just punch in your order. But to answer your question, John, is one of the things that I ask clients that are in that position to do, because they do. You're right. They do have skills, and they have skills that are valuable, but a lot of companies no longer need a lot of those skills 40 hours a week, so they're not going to hire somebody and pay them 40 hours a week. So what I recommend they do is basically become You Inc. They become their own business. They create a brochure. Here are the skills that I have to offer, and they market themselves to multiple companies. If they can find 5 businesses that need them 1 day a week, or 30 businesses that need them to come in 1 day a month, they have full-time income without having a full-time job. More importantly, they're actually at less risk of financial problems, because instead of having one, what I was talking
about, diversified portfolio.
Market themselves as an independent contractor as opposed to an employer.
Exactly. Mm-hmm. And the thing that you look at is, when you only have, going back to the diversified portfolio, if you only have one customer, which is when you have a job, if that customer no longer wants you to provide that service, you've lost them. You've lost all your income. Whereas if you have 5 different businesses that you're working for, if one of them can't afford you, or has to let you go, you still have income from 4, and it buys you time to find that other. And for some, if they're really good and they're good at marketing, rather than not just at the work, but good at marketing, they may find as they get extra work that they can't do, then they can bring in other people to do that. And I've had clients that started out, offering a service and they got overloaded because they were very good. Mm-hmm. They brought in friends that had comparable skills and they got a percentage of what that person earned. So, there's a lot of opportunities, but I think part of it is people have to stop looking and saying, I need a job. What they need is work. And what companies have done, while they may have eliminated jobs, the work still needs to be done. And so if you can provide that service that will fulfill the need, then they're going to hire somebody. Now, you may have to, and what I've told clients especially, some of this is not real nice, but it's reality, is if you go back when in 94, 95, when there was a cutback at the space program back then, is I talked to business owners in the area, small business owners, and they told me, they said, we get somebody that has most of their career at the Space Center, we just throw it because we throw it in the circular file in the trash can, basically, because they don't understand what it takes to work in a small business. We don't have multiple layers that can take care of stuff.
Or you do one job all the time. When you're in a small business, you have to wear 4 or 5 hats sometimes.
Exactly. And so what I always tell them is, I said, if you're not working anyway, why not offer a company a chance to interview you over 2 weeks to see what you can do? So that you offer, I will come to work for you for a week and show you what I'm capable of doing. Because actually a lot of those people do have skills well beyond just their narrow job, but that's not what they allow them to do at the Space Center. So it gives them a chance to show their work ethic, that they show up, that they're willing to volunteer to do work. And that's what small businesses have to have. They can't have somebody that can only do one thing. Right. They need somebody that if somebody's out sick, that they can at least pick up that, or most companies are lean and mean today. They have one missing and somebody can't pick up that work, that company is shut down for the day.
Mm-hmm. And what you're talking about is internships, and we don't see enough of that. I've done that in my office over the years occasionally, where I may not have an immediate need for a position, or somebody reaches out to me, and we go ahead and say, you know what, if you want to intern for a period of time and we'll see if it works. And on multiple occasions, I've ended up ultimately hiring the person who interned for a little bit. They proved that they did have a long-term worth to me. And sometimes they just want that experience so that they can now go out and look for the full-time, full-paying job, but can say, look, I have experience because I've interned here and have learned the skills. Again, actually, I'm not even talking about younger folks, although they had been younger rather than older, but the same thing can apply. That way of getting in the door is, by offering your services as an intern, say, look, let me show you what I'm worth. I think that's an excellent advice.
Absolutely true. And that's what people need to recognize is the 40-hour a week, getting paid for 40 hours a week, getting all the benefits and stuff like that. They're in very, very large companies that may still survive. Beyond that, it's different.
We really appreciate you being on the show, Ilean Davis. You have hours of wealth of information. Oh, look at how I put wealth in there. Hours of a wealth of information about wealth. And people need to know where they're at, where they're going, and have someone to help them with their roadmap. Please give out your information again on how they could contact you, and perhaps, again, mention your book. And we just have a couple moments left, but talk about going to your website. You've created a special calculator that people can try out. I know that gives you a lot of information to do in the next 30 or 45 seconds, but go.
Office phone number, 321-631-1127. I'm happy to send you out my information. Just call and ask. The website that I mentioned is www.choosingwealth.com. Watch the webinars. You'll learn a lot. If you want to try the calculator, go to the store tab, and you can try it out for free for a couple days.
What does that calculator help you do? Find your wealth and how many years and so forth?
It does almost every kind of financial calculation dealing with personal finance that you could probably
go
think
there
of.
And visit it and find out more about that. Jonathan, go ahead and give out your information as well.
Well, you can reach me at Lack and Lack Chartered, which on the website is www.lacklaw.com. That's LACKLAW.com, or by phone, area code 321-953-5115.
As you can see, we like to have guests on the show that have the heart of a teacher that can explain things, because there's people out there to help you no matter what your need is, whether it's financial, real estate, service, any kind of services. We try to bring everything to the forefront on helping our community. So come back next week. We'll have another guest explaining how you can benefit from the community services